The warship tore through Earth's atmosphere like a dagger through silk, its hull glowing white-hot as Commander Vex gripped the control panel. Alarms screamed through the bridge. The human fleet was 3 seconds behind them. "Shields at 4%, his second officer hissed, mandibles clicking in panic. Vex slammed his fist down. "Transfer all power to engines." Now, the Karvathi Empire had ruled 12 galaxies for 3,000 years. They had crushed civilizations that built cities in stars. They had burned worlds that dared resist. Earth was supposed to be easy, primitive, defenseless. That was 6 months ago. The humans had been mining asteroids when the first Karvathi probe arrived. Standard procedure: send a scan, measure their technology, calculate surrender time. The probe transmitted for 40 seconds before something ripped it apart, not destroyed it, disassembled it piece by piece. High Command laughed. They sent 300 warships. 97 came back. The humans didn't just fight. They adapted. Every weapon the Karvathi used, the humans countered within days. Plasma cannons? The humans built reflective shields from salvaged hull plating. Quantum mines? The humans rewired them and sent them back. The Karvathi had never seen anything like it. Vex watched his screen as another human fighter screamed past. Impossibly fast, impossibly precise. It wasn't heavily armed. It didn't need to be. The pilot made every shot count. "They're targeting our reactor core," the weapons officer shouted. "Evasive pattern 7. Sir, they've already countered pattern 7 and 8 and 12. Vex felt ice crawl through his veins. The humans were learning faster than his crew could think. A voice crackled through the comms. Human language. His translator kicked in. "Karvathi vessel. This is Captain Holland of the Earthship Defiance. Your shields are gone. Your weapons are offline. You have nowhere to run." Vex looked at his crew. Fear bled from every face. The voice continued. "You came here to conquer. You burned our colonies. You killed millions. Now you're alone and broken in our sky." Vex swallowed. Pride was a luxury the dying couldn't afford. "I'm offering you one chance," Holland said. "You have something we need. Information. Surrender now and tell us everything about your empire's fleet positions, technology, and command structure. Do that, and you live." Vex's hands trembled over the controls. The Karvathi Empire never surrendered, never begged, never bargained with prey species. Another explosion rocked the ship. "Hull breach on deck 4. "Sir," his second officer whispered, "we're out of options." Vex closed his eyes. 3,000 years of conquest, 3,000 years of supremacy, ended by a species that learned to fly between stars less than 2 centuries ago. He opened the channel. "Captain Holland," Vex said, his voice breaking. We surrender. Please, we'll tell you everything. Just don't destroy us." Silence. Then Holland spoke. "Smart choice, Commander. Prepare to be boarded." Vex slumped in his chair, defeated, humiliated, and utterly terrified of what the humans would do next. Captain Holland stepped through the airlock with 4 Marines behind her. No weapons drawn. They didn't need them. The Karvathi crew stood frozen in their own bridge, surrounded by sparking consoles and flickering lights. Vex had imagined this moment differently. In every scenario, he was the conqueror. He was the one stepping onto a broken enemy's ship, dictating terms, watching hope die in their eyes. Now he understood how it felt. Holland was shorter than he expected. Humans always looked small in the broadcasts, but standing 3 feet away from one was different. She radiated something that made his instincts scream danger. Not size, not strength, something else entirely. Commander Vex, she said calmly. I'm going to make this simple. You answer every question I ask completely, honestly. If I think you're lying, this conversation ends and your ship becomes scrap metal. Understood? Vex nodded. His pride burned, but survival burned hotter. Good. First question. How many Karvathy warships are currently in Sol System? 63, Vex said quickly, scattered across the outer planets. They're regrouping near Jupiter's fourth moon. Holland glanced at one of her Marines, who tapped something on a wrist device. Confirmed. 62 now. We just took out another one. Vex felt his stomach drop. The humans were fighting on 12 fronts simultaneously and still winning. Second question. Your fleet uses quantum entanglement for communication. What's the encryption key structure? Vex hesitated. That information would give humans access to every Karvathy channel across multiple galaxies. High Command would execute him for treason. Holland raised an eyebrow. I'm waiting. Tridimensional fractal sequence, Vex said, his voice hollow. Base algorithm ships every 14 seconds using stellar radiation signatures as seed values. I can provide the core matrix. Do it? Holland handed him a tablet. Human design, simple interface, elegant. Vex's hands shook as he entered the data. Every key he pressed was another nail in his empire's coffin. Why? He asked suddenly. Why are you so good at this? Holland looked at him, really looked at him. At what? War? At everything. Adaptation, innovation, combat. We fought thousands of species. None of them fought like you. One of the Marines laughed. Holland silenced him with a glance. You want to know our secret? She said. Fine. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We've had world wars that killed hundreds of millions. We've built weapons that could sterilize our entire planet. We've come within minutes of extinction, more times than I can count. Vex stared at her. Every war taught us something new, Holland continued. Every enemy made us sharper. We didn't just survive. We evolved. When you showed up thinking we were primitive, you made the same mistake everyone makes. You saw our age as a species and assumed we were weak.
She leaned closer.
We're not weak. We're experienced. And we've been waiting for someone like you.
A chill ran through Vex's body.
Third question, Holland said. Your empire has a central command hub. Where is it? Karvath Prime. Third planet in the Epsilon Eridani system, 22 light-years from here. Defenses? Orbital defense grid with 4,000 plasma batteries. Planetary shield that can withstand a supernova. Fleet garrison of 15,000 warships. Holland smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Interesting. Fourth question. How many species has your empire conquered? 247. And how many of them are still alive, still fighting? Vex went quiet. None, he finally admitted. We don't leave resistance alive. Yeah, Holland said softly. We figured. That's your second mistake. You don't just defeat enemies. You erase them. No negotiations, no mercy, no survivors. She gestured to the viewport, where Earth hung blue and beautiful against the black. We do things differently. We remember our enemies. We study them. We learn from them. Sometimes we even make them allies. She paused. But only if they earn it. Vex felt something crack inside him. What do you want from me? I already told you. Information. Complete cooperation. You're going to help us dismantle your empire piece by piece. And if I refuse? Holland's expression didn't change. Then you die here. Your crew dies. And we figure it out ourselves. Might take us a few extra weeks, but we'll manage. We always do. Vex looked at his second officer, at his weapons chief, at the young navigator who'd joined the fleet, thinking they'd return home as heroes. "I'll help you," Vex said. "We'll all help you. Just spare my crew." Holland nodded. "Deal. But understand something, Commander. You don't get to go home. None of you do. You're prisoners of war now. You'll be treated fairly, but your conquering days are over." Vex closed his eyes. The Carvathy Empire was finished. Humanity had just declared war on 3,000 years of supremacy, and they were going to win. Captain Holland stepped through the airlock with 4 Marines behind her. No weapons drawn. They didn't need them. The Carvathy crew stood frozen in their own bridge, surrounded by sparking consoles and flickering lights. Vex had imagined this moment differently. In every scenario, he was the conqueror. He was the one stepping onto a broken enemy ship, dictating terms, watching hope die in their eyes. Now he understood how it felt. Holland was shorter than he expected. Humans always looked small in the broadcasts, but standing 3 feet away from one was different. She radiated something that made his instincts scream danger. Not size, not strength, something else entirely. "Commander Vex," she said calmly, "I'm going to make this simple. You answer every question I ask, completely, honestly. If I think you're lying, this conversation ends, and your ship becomes scrap metal. Understood?" Vex nodded. His pride burned, but survival burned hotter. "Good. First question. How many Carvathy warships are currently in Sol's system?" 63, Vex said quickly, "scattered across the outer planets. They're regrouping near Jupiter's 4th moon." Holland glanced at one of her Marines, who tapped something on a wrist device. "Confirmed. 62 now. We just took out another one." Vex felt his stomach drop. The humans were fighting on 12 fronts simultaneously and still winning. Second question. Your fleet uses quantum entanglement for communication. What's the encryption key structure? Vex hesitated. That information would give humans access to every Carvathy channel across multiple galaxies. High Command would execute him for treason. Holland raised an eyebrow. "I'm waiting." "Tri-dimensional fractal sequence," Vex said, his voice hollow. "Base algorithm shifts every 14 seconds, using stellar radiation signatures as seed values. I can provide the core matrix." "Do it." Holland handed him a tablet. Human design. Simple interface. Elegant. Vex's hand shook as he entered the data. Every key he pressed was another nail in his empire's coffin. "Why?" he asked suddenly. "Why are you so good at this?" Holland looked at him. Really looked at him. "At what? War? At everything. Adaptation, innovation, combat. We fought thousands of species. None of them fought like you." One of the Marines laughed. Holland silenced him with a glance. "You want to know our secret?" she said. "Fine. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We've had world wars that killed hundreds of millions. We've built weapons that could sterilize our entire planet. We've come within minutes of extinction more times than I can count." Vex stared at her. "Every war taught us something new," Holland continued. "Every enemy made us sharper. We didn't just survive. We evolved. When you showed up thinking we were primitive, you made the same mistake everyone makes. You saw our age as a species and assumed we were weak." She leaned closer. "We're not weak. We're experienced. And we've been waiting for someone like you." A chill ran through Vex's body. "Third question," Holland said. "Your empire has a central command hub. Where is it?" "Carvith Prime, 3rd planet in the Epsilon Eridani system, 22 light years from here. Defenses? Orbital defense grid with 4,000 plasma batteries. Planetary shield that can withstand a supernova. Fleet garrison of 15,000 warships. Holland smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Interesting. Fourth question. How many species has your empire conquered? 247. And how many of them are still alive? Still fighting? Vex went quiet. None, he finally admitted. We don't leave resistance alive. Yeah, Holland said softly. We figured. That's your second mistake. You don't just defeat enemies, you erase them. No negotiations, no mercy, no survivors. She gestured to the viewport, where Earth hung blue and beautiful against the black. We do things differently. We remember our enemies. We study them. We learn from them. Sometimes we even make them allies. She paused. But only if they earn it. Vex felt something crack inside him. What do you want from me? I already told you. Information. Complete cooperation. You're going to help us dismantle your empire piece by piece. And if I refuse? Holland's expression didn't change. Then you die here. Your crew dies. And we figure it out ourselves. Might take us a few extra weeks, but we'll manage. We always do. Vex looked at his second officer, at his weapons chief, at the young navigator who joined the fleet thinking they'd return home as heroes. I'll help you, Vex said. We'll all help you. Just spare my crew. Holland nodded. Deal. But understand something, Commander. You don't get to go home. None of you do. You're prisoners of war now. You'll be treated fairly, but your conquering days are over. Vex closed his eyes. The Karvathi Empire was finished. Humanity had just declared war on 3,000 years of supremacy, and they were going to win. 6 weeks later, the human fleet materialized at the edge of Karvathi space like ghosts rising from darkness. 40 warships, nothing compared to the Empire's thousands. But Commander Vex, standing in chains aboard the lead vessel, knew numbers didn't matter anymore. Admiral Grant stood at the command deck, studying the tactical display. Vex had been forced to provide every detail: fleet positions, supply routes, communication protocols, weaknesses in the orbital defenses. The humans had absorbed it all in days. Target acquisition complete, the tactical officer reported. Karvathi Patrol Group Delta, 8 ships, heading 047. Grant didn't hesitate. Intercept vector, full stealth approach. The human ships moved like predators, silent, precise. Vex watched the screen as they closed distance without triggering a single alarm. The Karvathi Patrol had no idea death was 3,000 kilometers away. Firing solution locked. Fire, the human railguns spoke. Tungsten rods accelerated to .4 light speed, punched through Karvathi shields like they weren't there. 8 warships became expanding clouds of debris in 4 seconds. No survivors, no distress signal, no warning. Next target, Grant said calmly. Vex watched in horror as the humans systematically erased patrol after patrol. They weren't just fighting, they were hunting. Every strike was calculated, every shot killed. The Karvathi fleet was being dissected with surgical precision. Admiral, Vex said quietly, you're going to start a war that spans galaxies. Grant glanced at him. Commander, the war already started when you burned our colonies. We're just finishing it. A communication officer looked up. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Karvath Prime. High Command wants to negotiate. Grant raised an eyebrow. Already? We've only destroyed 37 ships. They're offering a ceasefire. They want to discuss terms. Vex felt his heart's race. High Command never negotiated. Never. The fact they were even reaching out meant they were terrified. Put them through, Grant said. The view screen flickered. Supreme Commander Zal appeared. his scaled face tight with barely controlled fury. Vex had served under Zal for 20 years. He'd never seen fear in those eyes before. Now he did. "Human fleet," Zal said, his voice measured. "This unprovoked aggression must cease immediately." Grant smiled coldly. "Unprovoked? You invaded our system. You killed millions of our people. You declared us an inferior species fit only for slavery. And now you want us to stop?" "We were misinformed about your capabilities," Zal said carefully. "Our initial assessment was flawed. We're prepared to withdraw all forces from human space and establish a non-aggression treaty." "Non-aggression," Grant repeated. "Interesting. What about reparations for the colonies you destroyed?" Zal's expression hardened. "We don't pay reparations to prey species? Then we don't accept your ceasefire." The channel went silent. "Admiral Grant," Zal said slowly, "you're making a grave mistake. We have 15,000 warships. You have 40. This is a battle you cannot win." Grant leaned forward. "Supreme Commander, let me explain something about humans. We don't fight battles we can win. We fight battles that matter, and this one matters." She gestured to someone off-screen. A new image appeared on the display. "Schematics, technical readouts, weapon specifications. Recognize these?" Grant asked. Zal's face went pale. "Those are your own quantum torpedoes," Grant continued. "Reverse engineered from the debris field near Mars. We've improved them. 30% more yield, 50% better targeting. We've already manufactured 4,000 units. Vex stared at the screen. 4,000 quantum torpedoes. That was enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. "You're bluffing," Zal said, but his voice wavered. "Test me," Grant replied. "Keep your fleet where it is. See what happens." Another officer spoke up. "Admiral, we have incoming. 50 Karbathi warships jumping in. Distance 2 light minutes. They're forming attack formation." Grant didn't flinch. "All ships, execute pattern Omega. Activate the surprise." Vex frowned. "What surprise?" The tactical display lit up. What had been 40 human ships suddenly became 400. Holographic projections, perfect replicas broadcasting false signatures. "Psychological warfare," Grant said simply. "Your ships see 400 enemies. Their targeting systems can't tell which are real. By the time they figure it out, we'll already be inside their formation." The Karbathi fleet hesitated. Vex could see it on the display. That fatal moment of doubt, the human ships struck. They moved through the enemy formation like sharks through fish. The real ships targeted command vessels, while the holograms scattered the rest. Karbathi captains fired at ghosts, while human railguns tore through their hulls. 15 ships destroyed in the first minute. "They're retreating," the tactical officer reported. "Let them go," Grant said. "I want them to report what they saw." Zal's face reappeared on screen. All pretense of superiority was gone. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "Everything," Grant said. "Complete withdrawal from all conquered systems. Full reparations to every species you've enslaved. Dismantling of your military fleet to defensive levels only. And you're going to do it willingly. Or we're going to keep coming until there's nothing left of your empire but dust." "That's impossible. The empire will never agree." Grant's smile was ice. "Then we'll have this conversation with whoever replaces you, and whoever replaces them. We have time, Supreme Commander. We're patient, but we're also done being merciful." She cut the transmission. Vex stared at the human admiral. "You're not going to stop, are you?" "No," Grant said simply. "Your empire had 3,000 years to learn diplomacy, to learn cooperation. Instead, you chose conquest. Now you get to learn what happens when you meet something you can't conquer." She turned to her crew. Set course for Karvath Prime. Maximum speed. The defense grid around Karvath Prime lit up space like a small sun. 4,000 plasma batteries tracking, locking, waiting. Vex watched from his cell aboard the human flagship as Admiral Grant studied the readings with unsettling calm. Impressive setup, she murmured. How long to recharge between volleys? Vex said nothing. He'd already betrayed enough. Grant looked at him. Commander, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way, you tell me. The hard way, we test it ourselves. Either works for us. 12 seconds, Vex muttered. Full battery recharge takes 12 seconds. Thank you. Grant turned to her tactical officer. Deploy the drones. 300 unmanned craft launched from the human ships. Small, fast, expendable. They screamed toward the planetary shield in staggered waves, each one broadcasting false signatures of full warships. The defense grid opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the void. The first wave of drones evaporated instantly. The second wave pushed closer. The third wave made it within 5,000 kilometers before the batteries recharged and erased them. Cycle time confirmed at 12 seconds, the tactical officer said. Accuracy drops below 60% when tracking multiple small targets. Grant nodded. Launch the real assault. Vex felt his blood freeze. The humans had just sacrificed 300 drones to gather data. They treated war like mathematics. Cold, efficient, terrifying. The human fleet split into 3 groups. Alpha Wing went high. Beta Wing dropped low. Gamma Wing drove straight forward, weapons blazing. The Karvathi defense grid struggled to adjust. Too many targets. Too many vectors. The batteries fired in desperation, hitting some ships, missing others entirely. Then the human torpedoes launched. Not the regular ones, the improved quantum torpedoes they'd reverse-engineered. They phased through normal space, appearing inside the defense perimeter before the grid could track them. Explosions blossomed across the orbital platforms. One by one, the batteries went dark. Planetary shield is fluctuating, someone reported from Karvath Prime's command center. Vex could hear the panic in their voice over the intercepted channel. Supreme Commander Zhao appeared on the emergency frequency. All garrison ships, engage immediately. Protect the homeworld. 15,000 warships began moving into position, the largest military force ever assembled in Karvathi history. The sky above the capital city turned dark with their shadows. Admiral Grant watched them come. Now we see if the intelligence was accurate. Commander Vex, your fleet uses a centralized targeting network, correct? Vex closed his eyes. Yes.
And the control node is located where?
Flagship Dominion, Supreme Commander Zal's personal vessel. Grant smiled. Thought so. All ships, new priority target. Lock on the Dominion. Everything we have. The human fleet pivoted as one. Every railgun, every missile bee, every torpedo, all aimed at a single ship buried in the center of 15,000 others. They'll never let you through, Vex said. You'll have to go through the entire fleet. No, Grant said. We just have to go through enough of it. The humans attacked in a spearhead formation. The tip of the formation was pure firepower, punching through Karvathi lines with brutal efficiency. Ships died on both sides. Human vessels took catastrophic damage but kept pushing forward. Vex watched in disbelief as a human destroyer, engines destroyed and hull breached in 40 places, rammed a Karvathi battlecruiser rather than retreat. The explosion took out 3 more enemy ships. They're insane, he whispered. They're committed, Grant corrected. There's a difference. The spearhead drove deeper. 500 kilometers from the Dominion. 300. 100 firing solution acquired. the weapons officer announced. Fire everything. The Dominion shields flared as hundreds of projectiles struck simultaneously. The shields held for 3 seconds. Then they shattered. The flagship's hull cracked open like an egg. Across the battlefield, every Karvathi warship suddenly went dark. Weapons offline, navigation offline. The centralized targeting network had just died with its control node. 15,000 ships became 15,000 floating targets. Broadcast on all Karvathi frequencies, Grant ordered. This is Admiral Grant of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your command ship is destroyed. Your targeting network is offline. Your planetary shield is failing. You have one option. Surrender immediately, or we will dismantle every ship in this system. Silence. Then, one by one, Karvathi vessels began powering down their weapons. Vex slumped against the cell wall. 3,000 years of empire, 3,000 years of conquest, ended in a single battle by a species that barely knew how to leave their own planet a century ago. A new voice crackled over the comms. Not Zahal. Someone else. Human fleet? This is Vice Commander Kroth. Supreme Commander Zal is dead. I am assuming temporary command. We accept your terms. The Karvathi Empire surrenders. The bridge went quiet. Grant let the moment hang there. Then she spoke. Vice Commander, prepare to receive boarding parties. All military vessels will be inspected and disarmed. All conquered species will be contacted and offered reparations. All military records will be turned over to us for review. Do you understand?
Yes, Krath said, his voice broken.
We understand. Grant cut the transmission and turned to Vex. Your people are survivors, Commander. They know when they're beaten. The question is, what happens next? Vex looked at her. What do you mean? Your empire conquered because that's all you knew. Now you're going to learn something different. Cooperation, diplomacy, actual civilization. She paused. We're not here to destroy you. We're here to make sure you never destroy anyone else. And if we resist, Grant's expression hardened. Then we come back. And next time, we won't be offering terms. 2 months after the surrender, Vex stood in the Grand Council chamber on Karvath Prime. The room had once held the Empire's most powerful warlords. Now it held something far more unsettling. Representatives from 47 different species, all former slaves of the Karvathi Empire, all freed by human intervention, and they were all staring at him. Captain Holland stood at the podium. She'd been promoted after the battle. Now she commanded the occupation force, overseeing Karvathi demilitarization. We're here to establish a new governing structure, Holland announced. One that represents all species in this region of space. The Karvathi Empire is dissolved. What replaces it will be decided collectively. A murmur ran through the chamber. Vex recognized some of the species, the Thalari, whose homeworld the Karvathi had burned, the Oxidian hive mind, enslaved for 600 years, the Marlith, whose entire culture had been erased. They all had reasons to hate him. A Thalari delegate stood up. Her skin was pale blue, scarred from radiation burns. Why is he here? She pointed at Vex. Why is a Karvathi war criminal allowed in this chamber? Holland looked at Vex. Commander Vex cooperated with us during the war. He provided intelligence that saved millions of lives. He's here as an observer and as a reminder. A reminder of what? The Thalari demanded. Of what happens when one species decides it's superior to all others, Holland said quietly. And of what happens when they're proven wrong. Another delegate stood. Marlith, 4 arms, crystalline skin. The humans defeated the Karvathi in weeks. You could rule this entire sector if you wanted. Why aren't you? Holland smiled slightly. Because we learned something a long time ago. Empires fall, always. They get too big, too arrogant, too convinced of their own righteousness. Then something stronger comes along and tears them down. She gestured around the room. We don't want to be the next empire. We want to be partners, equals. We'll help you rebuild. We'll share technology. We'll establish trade routes and mutual defense agreements. But we're not staying here as conquerors. The Oxidian representative spoke in a chorus of voices. Then what guarantee do we have that the Carvathi won't rise again? What stops them from rebuilding their fleet the moment you leave? Holland looked at Vex. Commander, would you like to answer that? Vex stepped forward slowly. Every eye in the room tracked him with hatred. He deserved it. We won't rise again, he said quietly. Not because we can't, because we've seen what we really are. For 3,000 years, we told ourselves we were bringing order to chaos, peace through strength. We believed our own propaganda. He paused. The humans showed us the truth. We weren't peacekeepers. We were butchers. We didn't build civilization. We destroyed it. And when we finally met someone who could stop us, we crumbled in weeks. The Thalari delegate's expression was ice. Pretty words from a murderer. Yes, Vex said simply, I am a murderer. I followed orders that killed billions. I can't undo that. I can't bring back the people I helped destroy. All I can do is make sure it never happens again. How? The Marleth demanded. Vex took a breath. By helping you. The humans have asked me to serve as a military advisor, to help train a coalition defense force, to teach you everything the Carvathi know about warfare so you can defend yourselves. Silence crashed through the chamber. You want us to trust you? The Thalari said. After everything? No, Vex replied. I don't expect trust. I expect suspicion, hatred, fear. But I'm offering my knowledge anyway, because the galaxy is bigger than this sector. There are threats out there worse than the Carvathi ever were, and if you want to survive them, you need to learn from our mistakes. Holland stepped forward. This isn't just about Vex. We've identified 17 other Carvathi officers willing to cooperate. They'll be working under strict oversight. Any sign of betrayal, any hint of conspiracy, and they're done. But their expertise could save lives. The Oxidian voices merged. And what happens to the rest of the Carvathi military? The ones who refuse to cooperate? They're being relocated to a designated world in the Outer Rim, Holland said. No weapons, no ships, basic supplies, and nothing more. They can build a new society from scratch, or they can die trying. Their choice? A new voice spoke from the back, a human voice. A young lieutenant stepped forward. Admiral Holland, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Command wants to speak with you immediately. Holland frowned. Can it wait? No, ma'am. They said it's critical. Holland excused herself and left the chamber. Vex stood alone, surrounded by representatives of species his empire had destroyed. The weight of their stares was suffocating. The Thalari delegate approached him, close enough that he could see the scars clearly. Burns from Carvathi plasma weapons. I lost my entire family when your ships attacked our homeworld, she said softly. 3 daughters, a husband, my parents, all dead because you decided we were inferior. Vex met her eyes. I know. I was there. I commanded one of the assault groups. Her hand moved to her side. For a moment, Vex thought she might have a weapon. He wouldn't have stopped her. Instead, she just stared at him. I hope you live a very long life, Commander, she said finally. I hope you live long enough to understand what you've done. I hope every morning you wake up and remember. I hope it never stops hurting." She walked away. Vex stood there, alone in the crowd, and realized she'd given him exactly what he deserved. Not death. Something far worse. The chance to make amends he could never fully repay. Holland returned 30 minutes later. Her expression was grim. "We have a problem," she announced. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet entering this sector. Unknown configuration, unknown species. They're not responding to hails." Vex felt ice form in his chest. How massive? 30,000 ships, maybe more. They'll be here in 2 weeks. The chamber erupted in panic. The defense planning room buzzed with controlled chaos. Representatives from 20 species argued over maps and tactical displays. Holland stood at the center, calm as stone, while panic swirled around her. Vex studied the sensor data. His blood went cold. "I know these ships," he said quietly. The room went silent. "You recognize them?" Holland asked. "The Dvarak swarm. We encountered them 800 years ago at the edge of known space. They don't negotiate. They don't communicate. They consume everything. Planets, ships, entire civilizations." Vex looked up. The Karbathi Empire fled. "We were the most powerful force in 12 galaxies, and we ran." The Thaleri delegate's face went pale. "And now they're coming here." "Because we're weak," the Marleth said bitterly. "The Karbathi fleet is dismantled. We have no defenses. We're scattered and broken." "No," Holland said firmly. "We're united. For the first time in this sector's history, you're not fighting each other. That's an advantage." "Against 30,000 ships?" someone shouted. Holland turned to Vex. "You fought them before. What worked? Nothing worked. We lost 4,000 ships in the first engagement. The Dvarak don't have tactics. They just swarm. Overwhelming numbers. Relentless aggression. Then we don't fight them head on." Holland pulled up a star chart. "We have 2 weeks. We use every second." "Commander Vex, I need you to coordinate with the coalition forces. Teach them everything about defensive formations." "Captain, they barely trust me." "They don't have a choice." Holland looked around the room. "None of us do. This isn't about old grudges anymore. This is about survival." The Oxidians spoke. "What about Earth? Will your homeworld send reinforcements?" Holland's jaw tightened. "Earth is sending what it can. 50 ships. They'll arrive in 10 days. 50 ships against 30,000, the Thalari said. "We're finished." "Maybe," Holland admitted. "Or maybe we're about to teach the Dvarak the same lesson the Karvathi learned, that underestimating this sector is fatal." The next 12 days were chaos. Every shipyard in the system ran non-stop. Civilian vessels were retrofitted with weapons. Mining stations became supply depots. The coalition forces drilled constantly, with Vex pushing them harder than he'd ever pushed his own crews. The Thalari delegate, whose name was Ceres, approached him on day 9. "My people want to know why you're helping," she said. "You could run, hide, let us die." Vex didn't look up from the tactical display. "Because running didn't save us last time. The Davarak will keep coming, keep consuming. Eventually they'll find wherever I hide." He paused. "And because maybe this is how I start paying back what I owe." "You can never pay it back." "I know." Ceres was quiet for a moment. "The coalition voted. If we survive this, you're allowed to stay as an advisor. Not forgiven. Never forgiven, but allowed." Vex felt something crack in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just help us live." The Dvarak arrived on schedule. 32,000 ships materialized at the system's edge like a plague of locusts. No formations, no strategy. Just raw, terrifying numbers. Holland stood on the bridge of her flagship, surrounded by screens showing every coalition vessel: Carvathy, Thalari, Marleth, Oxidian, human, 20 species that had spent centuries fighting each other, now standing together. All ships, this is Admiral Holland. The Davrak have come here expecting easy prey. They think we're weak because we're diverse. Different species, different technologies, different cultures. She paused. They're wrong. Our differences make us stronger. We've learned from each other, adapted to each other. The Davarak only know how to consume. We know how to create, to cooperate, to survive. The Davarak fleet surged forward. All wings, execute pattern Delta. Show them what unity looks like. The coalition forces moved as one. The Carvathy ships with their heavy shields formed the front line. The Thalari fighters, fast and agile, harried the flanks. The Marleth deployed gravity wells that disrupted Dravarak formations. The Oxidian hive mind coordinated point defense across the entire fleet, and the humans hit weak points with surgical precision. The Dvarak swarm crashed against the defense line. Ships died on both sides, but for every coalition vessel destroyed, the survivors adapted, learned, adjusted. Vex coordinated defensive rotations from his station. The Lari Wing 7 pull back. Carvathy Group 3 reinforce Sector 9. Taking orders from a war criminal feels wrong, Sarah said over the comm. Taking orders from someone who knows what he's doing feels smart, Vex replied. Your call. A pause. Then the Lari fighters shifted position, plugging a gap in the line. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Dvarak kept coming, but their numbers meant nothing against coordinated resistance. Every ship in the coalition fleet protected 2 others. Every species covered another's weakness. Holland watched the tactical display. The Davarak were losing ships faster than they could replace them. Not because the coalition was stronger, because they fought smarter. They're pulling back, the tactical officer reported. The Dvarak fleet retreated to the system's edge, regrouped. Then something changed. The swarm began coordinating, learning. They're adapting to us, Vex said quietly, just like we adapted to them. Holland smiled. Good. Let's see who learns faster. The second wave hit harder. The Dvarak had studied coalition tactics and adjusted, but so had the coalition. New formations, new strategies. The battle became a test of evolution under fire, and slowly, impossibly, the Dvarak began to lose. Their ships fell back further, until finally the entire swarm jumped to hyperspace and vanished. The coalition fleet hung in space, battered and bloodied, but alive. Cheers erupted across every channel, 20 species celebrating together. Holland found Vex afterward in the tactical center. He was staring at the casualty reports. 3,000 ships lost, millions dead. We won, she said simply. Did we? Vex asked. Look at the cost. Look at the alternative. If we'd been divided, if you'd still been conquering instead of cooperating, the Dvarak would have erased this entire sector. Vex nodded slowly. What happens now? Holland smiled. Now we rebuild. Together, the coalition holds. We establish real alliances, real partnerships, and maybe, just maybe, we create something better than any empire could have been. She extended her hand. We could use someone like you, someone who understands the cost of conquest, someone who wants to prevent it. Vex looked at her hand, at the symbol of everything his empire had tried to destroy. He shook it. The Carvathy Empire spent 3,000 years conquering, he said quietly. I'll spend whatever time I have left building. Outside the window, ships from 20 different species flew in formation, not as conquerors, not as slaves, as equals. Humanity hadn't just defeated the Carvathi. They taught them something far more powerful, that strength without wisdom is just brutality, and that the future belongs not to those who dominate,